Hello, I am Agent Random, the maker of at least a couple videos on this channel which have all been about edgy Square Enix protagonists with spiky hair running around a fictional Tokyo. But I want to expand out of that a little bit and move on to talking about Kingdom Hearts 4, which is definitely none of those things. Let's analyze the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal trailer. I know I'm a little late, but I hope that I have enough of a unique input to warrant this video's existence and draw your attention to new ideas. And if for some reason this is the first analysis you're watching on Kingdom Hearts 4, well, buckle up and let's blast off. The trailer opens with the text of the Lost Master arc. This is a follow-up to the Darkseeker saga that we've been focused on for the entire rest of the series. One thing I want to clarify is that I do not believe this is the name of Kingdom Hearts Phase 2. Kingdom Hearts Phase 2 encapsulates Kingdom Hearts 3's Remind DLC, Melody of Memory, Dark Road, Missing Link, and finally Kingdom Hearts 4. But I believe that up through Missing Link, we are still in the Darkseeker saga. This is due to each game's logo. Kingdom Hearts 4 uses a different font, which has been described to signify a new chapter, but Missing Link uses the font from the previous chapter. Additionally, the Lost Master arc text itself does not appear in the trailer until after Missing Link's segment is done. This is all to say that Kingdom Hearts Phase 2 will end with the start of a new arc, and that arc will continue on for phases to come. Probably Kingdom Hearts 5, 6, and like Nomine's Painting Adventure or whatever else is thrown in between. Our opening shot throws us straight into Quadratum. Quadratum is the city featured in Unreality, or the Realm of Fiction, a concept introduced in Kingdom Hearts 3 and later named in Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. If you did not play Melody of Memory and you're hearing for the first time Unreality and Realm of Fiction, you might be like, wow, that's really dumb. And as a fan, I can tell you, yeah, it is. It's a world where neither light or darkness are supposed to be able to take control, and the Master of Masters wants to use it as a way to battle darkness, as in the character from Union Cross. A character so evil that his sprite is a reused asset. Back to Quadratum, it happens to look a whole lot like real-life Shibuya, Tokyo. This opening shot looks to be taken from within the Shibuya Scramble Square building. Outside that window is the Scramble Crossing, or at least what's above it. And alright, let me get the elephant out of the room because I know y'all are a bunch of World Ends With You nerds. TLDR, this is not in any way the World Ends With You Shibuya, but it is still Shibuya. And also you should probably still expect World Ends With You stuff to happen anyway. Nomura has gone on record stating that this is not the Shibuya from the World Ends With You, but he did also tell World Ends With You fans to keep their eyes on Kingdom Hearts 3 just before it released. And the Kingdom Hearts 3 secret ending where Sora appears in Quadratum has a number of World Ends With You parallels. Also, even though this is only ever really referred to as Quadratum, this district may still be called Shibuya. If we assume that the Verum Rex trailer depicts the actual Quadratum, which it very well may not be, who's to say, there is a sign that says Shibuya Center Street. Therefore, in some way, this place is still a Shibuya. Still, this is not the Shibuya that Neku and the rest of the World Ends With You cast are from in Dream Drop Distance, meaning that somewhere in reality, there is another world that looks really freaking close to this one, where if I had to speculate, your heart does not travel to Quadratum to live on like what we see happen in Kingdom Hearts 4, because it instead is held in purgatory in the Reaper's game. Also, for anyone starting to hyperventilate at the thought of Kingdom Hearts and the World Ends With You mingling some more, chill out. These two series have done nothing but good for each other. Personally, as long as they don't become like canon to one another, I'm all for putting as much World Ends With You in Kingdom Hearts as possible. And honestly, if they were going to make the World Ends With You into what is essentially a Kingdom Hearts spinoff, they totally would have done that by now. If you're not into Kingdom Hearts but are into the World Ends With You, just ignore Kingdom Hearts, simple as that. And to any Kingdom Hearts fans who haven't played the World Ends With You who just heard that, please disregard what I just said. The World Ends With You is actually very canon to Kingdom Hearts and will be crucial to understanding Kingdom Hearts 4, so you should go and pick up Neo The World Ends With You right now on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, or the Epic Games Store. And then follow me on Twitter. Agent Random. Inside the building, there's a bunch of text showing a Kingdom Hearts original language introduced in 2.8. I did try and translate it, but unfortunately, the Kingdom Hearts Deciphery team does not have a full translation guide. Believe me, I did try and translate all the text in the trailer, but I just couldn't get anything. This column says something about a 3 and a 7, and the text over here is repeated over here. Over at the Scramble Crossing itself, we can see a number of billboards and advertisements for sales and such, because no matter what dimension you're in, Shibuya is still a shopping district. There's also the iconic 104 building, which was the battleground against Yozora in Kingdom Hearts 3's secret boss that I'm too much of a baby to have beaten. The building is a parody of the real-life 109 building, but it instead uses the numbers 104, which is how the building was represented in The World Ends With You. Though it actually doesn't look like that in The World Ends With You anymore. Recent World Ends With You media has updated the building to use its 2019 logo, but Kingdom Hearts has sticked with the older logo. Just outside that building, in between the Moyai statue and the Scramble Square, we see what looks like a whole lot of darkness forming. This sort of swarm-like animation is very reminiscent of the way that the character Darkness was animated, don't you think? But this makes me wonder, how is this darkness here? I thought Unreality was a world without light or darkness. Well, Sora's here and still has his Keyblade, which is a product of the light. So maybe it's possible that what we're seeing here is light and darkness get introduced into the world. There's a voiceover by an unknown character. I did a couple voice comparisons, and I think that it might be whoever's speaking in the Missing Link trailer. It has been said that this is a character that we already know, so if we can't identify their voice, that must mean that they're a character from Union Cross or Dark Road that have yet to receive a voice actor. Recent information has led people to believe that the voice is Sigurd from Union Cross, but I'll cover that in a different video. The person says that if someone is unsatisfied with their ending, they can just leave this world for another. Really gives me the vibes of that old Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer quote, "Don't assume your dreams are just fantasy if you can imagine a world, believe in it, and dive in." If this is like an afterlife, then I wonder if Sora will have the ability to take himself to other worlds that way. Cause I'm sure he is not necessarily satisfied with the ending he got in Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, seeing as he died. Speaking of other worlds, here's what appears to be one. Now this could very well just be a forest in Quadratum, but I kid you not, this place may just be Endor from Star Wars. The final shot shows some kind of metallic object that looks exactly like an AT-ST foot. Like, it's a perfect match. If this world is Star Wars, then I'm actually pretty excited to see it in Kingdom Hearts. There's a lot that they could do here, and I cannot wait to see the lightsaber Keyblade. We see a shot of Sora's chess piece alone on the chessboard that Ericus and Xehanort played on in the flashbacks throughout Kingdom Hearts 3. Each piece on the board represented one of the major players in Kingdom Hearts 3. At the end of the game, Sora's piece was transferred over to a new game which seemingly represents the new conflict. Sora against 7 dark pieces. These likely represent the 7 stronger darkness pieces that are placed within the 5 foretellers, Xigbar, and the Master of Masters. The way the environment is lit here divides Sora's piece into 2. One half is lit and the other is dark. So what does this mean? I don't know, why should I have all the answers? Next, we see Sora awake on a couch. Last we saw Sora, he was either a popsicle or he was in the final world. This is because there are 2 different endings to the Yozora boss fight depending on if you win or lose. Going off of developer comments, it seems that the timeline where Sora wins is the one that will be canon going into Kingdom Hearts 4, which means that prior to this point, he probably beat Yozora, promptly passed out while his mind is in the final world, at which point he was dragged to this fancy schmancy apartment. Yozora fades away in this ending since his powers are not yet needed, which is likely why he is presently absent from this game. Nomura did consider making Verum Rex instead of Kingdom Hearts 4, but decided that fans would rather see what happened to Sora. Still, I would not be surprised if we did wind up getting that Verum Rex game one day. Sora is now looking very hyper-realistic, which is how everything in this world looks. They experimented with this a bit in Kingdom Hearts 3, most notably with its Pirates of the Caribbean world. Disney characters and all worked well in this art style, so I see no reason why Donald, Goofy, or any other familiar Kingdom Hearts characters can't eventually make their way to this world. As for the location where Sora is staying, it only took like an hour for this man to get doxxed. He's living right here in Aoyama, which is one of the most expensive places that you can live in Tokyo. Guess the real world wasn't ready for RPG characters to stroll on in with their currency farming techs. We see that Sora is looking a little different. I'm going to pretend Astrolitzia didn't undress and redress Sora because that's just kinda weird, but I will headcanon that she removed his shoes to determine his shoe size because who wouldn't? But yeah, he is in a new outfit, which is pretty similar to his Super Groupies outfit. The Super Groupie outfits are real clothes from a collaboration that Kingdom Hearts did with Super Groupies. All the outfits are based on Kingdom Hearts characters. Nomura even did art to promote it, and that art was used at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3's critical mode. I remember at the time, I was a little disappointed to see that. Like, man, I just survived the hardest difficulty in any Kingdom Hearts game and y'all reward me with an ad for a crazy expensive clothing line? But now that we know these may be early versions of the cast's Kingdom Hearts 4 designs, that's way cooler. Almost reminds me of how early versions of their Kingdom Hearts 3 designs were used in a Kingdom Hearts Union Cross Anniversary art piece. He's awoken by a doorbell and Strelitzia is revealed with a new outfit. Strelitzia is the younger sister of Lorium, or Marluxia's human form, who was murdered in Union Cross by a darkness-possessed Ventus. For all of you that didn't play Union Cross, yeah, you kinda missed some stuff. She explains that Sora has been asleep since he arrived in the world 7 days ago. The specific choice of 7 days is not lost on me. 7 days as in 7 Days of the Reapers game? 7 as in 7 Guardians of Light? All questions that I'm sure Nomura wants us to be asking. Strelitzia is likely here in the present due to Lushu putting who was probably her in the arc towards the end of Union Cross. He stated that she was a seed of light to be planted in the future, and here we are in the future. What I find odd though is Strelitzia's entrance. She rings the doorbell. So does that mean that this isn't her place? Whose is it? Did she get this place set up just for Sora and then not keep the key while he was asleep for a week? How did she even know when he was waking up? And if she's here, does that mean any other dead Kingdom Hearts characters are also eligible to be quadratumified? Like Xehanort or Ericus? Or Clayton? Did Goofy briefly slip into Quadratum for like half a minute in Kingdom Hearts 2? And what about characters that have died and come back? Like, I don't want to say that Oogie Boogie knew about Quadratum since Kingdom Hearts 2. But, okay, well, I think there is actually a bit of a threshold on who can and can't come here by dying. The Master of Masters says the following in Union Cross. What is the clear difference between humans and other living beings? Humans want to believe that once they are gone, there is still another world waiting for them. I want to believe that too. A world beyond life I can imagine. A fictional world. Therefore, only humans can actually make it to Quadratum by dying. But wouldn't that still mean that, like, Barbossa was here for a little while? What about Tadashi from Big Hero 6? I'll come back to this later, but for now it's worth noting that we haven't yet been explained on the rules of going to Quadratum. It's possible that Sora and Strelitzia's entrance to the world were both under a unique circumstance. We get a street level view of the Scramble Crossing with several signs. Most of these don't have anything interesting to say except this one which says D-Eater or Dream Eater. You know, those little animal companions from Dream Drop Distance that are actually the souls of all your dead self-inserts for the mobile game. This does make me wonder though. We've seen a fair amount of references to symbols or names from other games in Quadratum. Maybe like how this world is just a video game in Sora's world, his world is just fictional here. And maybe not just Kingdom Hearts, but also Final Fantasy. The sign above the D-Eater sign says Fabula Books. This could maybe be a reference to Fabula Nova Crystallis Final Fantasy. The inversion begins with some sort of dark creature appearing. It's clearly based off a dark side, but I'm tentative to call it a Heartless. This is a whole new dimension, who knows what the rules are. For all we know, this is actually a fartless or something. The end of the world then comes just like it was always going to, documented on someone's Twitter feed. But luckily, Sora runs on in with not giant banana shoes. Whoa, I guess they don't sell those here. Sora summons the Kingdom Key in just the most epic fashion. I swear I could watch that all day. This entire scene is really reminiscent of Final Fantasy Versus 13. That was the original name of Final Fantasy 15 back when it was being directed by Tetsuya Nomura. Long story short, he stepped down as director partway through its development and the finished product looked a whole lot different to what Nomura was originally making. So Nomura seems to be reusing a lot of those ideas here in Kingdom Hearts 4. Nomura has stated that he's a huge fan of stories that bring fantasy into the real world, or urban fantasy, which can be seen in some of his favorite projects like Versus 13 or both World Ends With You games. The tagline for Versus 13 even stated that it was a fantasy based on reality, and now that idea seems to be put within Kingdom Hearts. The fantastical elements of all the prior games are thrown into something that looks like a real world setting. Yozora and his game, Verum Rex, appear to be the direct evolution of that original idea for Versus 13, so we'll definitely be going back to that game as we learn more about this game to draw more parallels. And bam, HUD. Actually, real quick, in this shot, we can get a good look at one of the license plates and see that it translates to 4270. There also seems to be at least one other car in the trailer that has a license plate that translates to this. So I'm wondering if like every car in Quadratum has the same license plate, and if so, why this number? Now back to that HUD, it's all very reminiscent of Kingdom Hearts 3, except there have been a few changes. On the right, we've lost the focus meter and replaced it with the EX meter, which was what Kingdom Hearts 3's focus meter was originally called in its early trailers. If I had to guess, I'd say that this could be tied to the new command on the command menu. The first three commands are of course attack, magic, item, but the fourth one says build. Tetsuya Nomura has described the ability to include the deconstruction and reconstruction of objects. Actually, Yozora may have even used this ability in his boss fights. Sora then battles the creature who's just next to the Shibuya Hikari building where this trailer was first revealed. If I had to guess, this is a pretty early game boss, judging by how scripted and quick time event-y the fight looks. Perfect for a trailer though. Kingdom Hearts 3 similarly used a very quick time event oriented fight for its early trailers with Rock Titan. Sora uses Free Run from Kingdom Hearts 3 to latch onto this pole. There are no sparkles, but I imagine that they'll be added later. He pole swings onto this pole but without flow motion. Sora is just really athletic now. Good for him. Sora does some parkour and freaking grappling hooks onto a street lamp, which is just the coolest thing. Sora uses the hilt of his keyblade to make the chain, but it is notably not the keychain itself that's being used. We see that the ability to run up buildings also returns from 3, but it similarly doesn't use flow motion. Instead, he stabs a building with his keyblade and then pushes off from it. As Sora runs up the building, the enemy's darkness slithers up the building. I wonder if touching it would damage Sora or if this is just a visual effect. Sliding is also back as Sora slides down this building fragment. Sora comes face to face with the enemy and a button prompt to knock back the enemy's fist appears. The button is blank since this trailer isn't console specific, but it would probably be filled with a triangle or a Y or something. And as it turns out, this is actually a reaction command from Kingdom Hearts 2, finally back after its absence in Kingdom Hearts 3. As it happens, I have not slept a single night that it's been gone, and I'm happy to have this catharsis. But really, I am beyond excited at the potentiality of what this can bring into a modern Kingdom Hearts game. The commands in Kingdom Hearts 2 are still impressive, and that was like 3 generations ago. Who knows what they could do now with Unreal Engine 5? This also proves to us that the HUD is just there for show right now, since the command does not appear there. All of this combat seems pretty early in my opinion. I'm sure that we'll get a better idea of it when we see more of the game. Watching Sora battle the enemy are 2 black hooded figures. Going off of their posture, the left is likely Xigbar and the right is the Master of Masters. Reminder for those in the dark, Xigbar was once upon a time the Master of Masters' apprentice Lushu. Lushu lived on into the future as a sort of waypoint for the Master of Masters who get to this time and place, Quadratum. The Master of Masters' goal is a little unclear, but he does want darkness defeated, and it looks like he'll be using Sora to do that. Still, would not trust this man. The voiceover states that you can leave this world, but you shouldn't expect to come back to the one where you came from. So this game may see Sora journey to get home, but coming across various other worlds instead, like Endor. Still hoping to see Sora visit more proper Disney worlds. Like, come on, he's dead, how can he not go to the land of the dead from Coco? Come on. Our final scene shows us Donald and Goofy. Dang, these guys really let Strelitzia get a new outfit before them, huh? Donald uses his staff like a torch while he and Goofy look around for a he. Donald's feet echo, so they seem to be in a cave-like environment. Maybe the underworld, as the person they're looking for is undoubtedly Hades from Hercules. Donald and Goofy are likely here to search for Sora since he's, you know, dead. Hades was able to bring Orin's spirit back to life after all. This is what will probably lead into us getting a better definition of who winds up where when they die, since I imagine Hades is pretty informed on that topic. I mean, surely not every dead person goes to the underworld, right? The World Ends With You cast winds up in the Reaper's game. So I'm curious to see what sort of convoluted rules and systems they set up for how death works. Okay, you know what? Here's a prediction. Donald and Goofy spend their time investigating like a bunch of afterlives. So that's how you introduce like Coco in like the Reaper's game. I just think that would be like the coolest thing ever. And with that, we get our final message. The magic is in the making. I guess they figured that saying now in development would give everyone PTSD from the Kingdom Hearts Hearts 3 trailers. And that's all I could find in the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal. I'm sure that there's plenty of stuff that I missed, so let me know what details you found in the comments. There's a lot of plot threads that I really hope to see explored in this game. How will Marluxia react when he learns that his sister is back? What are the foretellers up to? Where is Yuzora? What will Luxord's wildcard be used for? Where is Strill hiding Sora's old shoes, and will they be unlockable at 100% completion? Just can't wait to find out. I really want to cover more of this game leading up to its release, and I hope y'all will join me on this journey. So, here we go. The road to Kingdom Hearts 4 begins.